Good morning. Welcome to Pries Capital. You must be the new recruit.
Oh, is this the new recruit?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Follow me, Mr. Superstar. Here at Pries Capital, we love showcasing art. The stunning bronze dragon sculpture Kiko by the renowned artist Nano Lopez is definitely a showstopper. And these pieces on the walls, the legendary Michael Godard is practically a rock star in the art world. There's art all over the office, creating a vibrant, creative atmosphere to work in and collaborate in. And here is Tyler Pries, our hardworking mortgage loan officer. If you're looking to purchase real estate in the Myrtle Beach area, Tyler's the guy to know.
Looks like you have your hands full. Ashlyn, can you grab a book for him? And I'll see you at the meeting.
And here's Raj, one of Jason's right-hand guys for commodities trading. Good morning, Raj.
Good morning.
Meet the new recruit.
Hi. Hope you like to work hard and play hard. This is a high-stakes environment. Split-second decisions can make or break an opportunity. Welcome to the firm.
Don't worry about Raj. He's a quiet powerhouse, but he's critical to everything we do here. And here's the founder and real estate powerhouse herself, Tina Price.
Good morning. How are you? So glad to have you with us. Can't wait to see you in action. We're just about ready to start the meeting for Jason's market analysis. I will see you both in the conference room.
Good morning, Jason. This is the new recruit.
Hey, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Your skill set is exactly what we need. I love people dedicated to their craft. But hey, I got to get ready for this morning's analysis, so I'll see you in a bit.
Thanks, Jason. You're awesome. Right here, we have one of our many conference rooms. And down the hallway over here, we have the intelligent and sharp-eyed Miss Jill.
Why, thank you, Ashlyn. Nice to meet you.
Jill thrives in the world of spreadsheets, balance sheets, and financial forecasts.
You'll fit right in, so go check out your new office.
And here's your new office. And over here, we have some welcome goodies for you. Just a small thank you of saying welcome to the family. Okay, so I've got to get ready for the meeting, but check out the gym over here, grab some coffee and bagels in this room to the right, and then I'll meet you in the conference room.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, take a seat. Welcome back to another morning market analysis. Let's get comfortable and dive in.
This slingshot reversal has the potential to make our entire week. We're officially at the midpoint of the trading week, and the market is presenting one of the rare conditions where patience can be rewarded in a big way. What immediately stands out this morning is two clearly defined sideways ranges sitting on the chart. When markets compress like this after a recent move, they don't stay quiet for long. These ranges want to rotate, and when they do, the move can be fast, emotional, and highly profitable if you're prepared. Oh, excuse me, I had to run to the printer really quick and then run back. So, whoo. Anyways, good morning. Welcome back to another Team Day Trader edition of the Daily Market Analysis. Settle in, grab your coffee, and let's prepare for today's trading session. As always, if you're new, take a moment to subscribe and explore the resources linked in the description below. Good morning, everybody. Hey, William. Glad to see you every morning. Anybody else in the chat, go ahead. And also, while we're just talking, if you do want me to take a look at anything, throw those tickers in the chart. We can always look at those if I got time at the end. Trying to be a little bit what's the word I want to use? Helpful. Anybody I know, I trade the ES. That's what I trade in the managed futures account that goes with the long-term portfolio. But I know other people are looking at other things. Obviously, I look at other things. So if there's a instrument or a ticker that you want me to take a look at, go ahead and throw it in the chat, and I'll try to get to it towards the end. Really quick, PPI numbers just came out. We had core month over month. Let's do year over, no, we don't have year over years on this. So month over month, core is 0%. Forecast was 0.2. Core retail sales 0.4 forecast, actual is 0.5. I'm really looking retail sales. That was a upbeat. Let's look at some of these graphs here. Let's look at core PPI. Yeah, it's all over the board. Not a good range. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing that we can really take out of this that screams. Anyways, so well, we do got some price movement. Really, the CPI is the big number. I know the Fed talks about PPI, but the market kind of, right? We got the reaction yesterday from CPI yesterday. It's the big market mover. Things that matter today. I'm not going to refresh this yet because I do want to talk about this. Is one, I think the bank earnings, we're going to look at JP Morgan because they just lost it as far as price in yesterday's action. So I think that's what's going to matter most in today is to watch B of A and Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and watch that price action as well as, right, JP Morgan, right? Yesterday's sell-off, is it like more and they keep on selling? Because the earnings didn't look like they were too bad. And even I kind of glanced for a second of Bank of America, their earnings, and they didn't look too bad neither. So, again, this is why I don't get into the fundamental analysis, right? We are, quant traders, I would say. We do more of qualitative or quantitative more than qualitative analysis. So, right, more of data centric, price centric, more than telling stories. So again, I think I've talked to you guys about that, where I'm not a good storyteller. So you will not get good stories coming out of me. I let price dictate what people are doing, because I feel people usually tend to lie and tell bullshit stories than what they really do with their money. So again, anyways, I think that's going to be important to look these bank earnings today. And then also, before I refresh this, right, we already got these, boom, boom, coming out. This tariff, right, I think last Friday we were talking about the tariff and the Supreme Court decision. They pushed that until today. Again, I'm keying in on watching out for it, but I'm not going to hold my hat. These things tend to just kick the can until everybody kind of forgets about it, and then they sneak it in. When everybody's kind of watching, especially this, I tend to believe that, right, they just, push the can down the road, and until something else of news is important and that's got your attention, and then this kind of gets thrown underneath the radar. So we'll see. The other thing that I am going to be watching for, and these beige books seem to be, it depends on what kind of macro environment that we're on. Sometimes these beige books are important and they do market mover events. And then sometimes not. With the Fed in this predicament of labor and inflation, right now in today's macro environment, I'm leaning towards, and again, this is on a spectrum. Everything that a lot of things that I'm always thinking of is like, how important are things, or we talk about, is trading easy or hard? And these things, I don't think it's like black and white. I feel like there's gray, and there's times in which is more precedent than others. And so, I am going to watch this 2:00 and be, cognizant of it, where at 2:00, what happens at price that first 15 minutes from 2 to 2:15, and just do we get a reaction? Does the market care? Price action should tell us. Like, if price action, volatility between 2 and 2:15, somewhere in there, kind of picks up, right? Then that's feedback of information where there are people looking at that beige book and, rebalancing or some kind of restructuring in the portfolio is taking place by something they said. If tempo doesn't, whatever the tempo was today, if that feels like it didn't change between 2 and 2:15 when that comes out, then I'm going to look at it as a, not a big deal and don't put too much attention to it. If there is attention to it, then I probably won't have the time to look at it at that time. They just refreshed the website. So I won't have time to be like in real time at 2 o'clock read it, but I will be then later on in the evening reading that if it deems that it needs to be read. If it doesn't, then I won't read it. If the market doesn't care, then I don't care. So we already looked at that. And again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is still the same, right? We got, they're not even looking at the first cut until June. So, right, this first cut was in April, and then it got shifted to now it's in June. So, and it stayed in, it's been the same. So I don't have too much to say on that. Nothing's changed out of that. So with that said, let's get into the market analysis. All right, because this is what's important. I think this is why you guys come here. As of 7:15, which now it's 8:38, S&P futures were trading lower at 27 3/4. We're now at 29. Overnight volume is skewed heavy, and this is important because a lot of times, right, it's either light or moderate skew. There is heavy skew, or what I would consider strong skew to the short side, with a net short delta near negative 4.22. So again, we're coming in with very strong selling volume into this morning session. So as we open up at 9:30, that should be information, right? Are these overnight traders correct? And right, they're going to just add to that selling pressure, and we're going to, literally, legitimately, sell off in the market. And that would definitely be constructive from the sellers when I think of longer time charts, hourly chart, day chart, now, when we're looking at a 5-minute chart, that's a different story. That kind of switched to a little bit of bearish, in yesterday's price action, but one day isn't a big deal. And then when we look at hourly charts and day charts, weekly charts, those are still trending upward. And we haven't really made like a significant lower lows and lower highs. We're still in a mantra of higher highs, higher lows. So, without looking, into the 5-minute chart, looking a little bit past that, the market is still kind of bullish. Now I'm coming in with a short-term bias of neutral in this morning and a longer-term bullish, right? Because that's what the charts are saying. So, but this net short, the strong net short delta opening up is very important in my day trading analysis as we open up live. And I want to say, hey, good morning to James. Just seen you in the chat. So shout out to James out of North Carolina. Or no, it's Virginia. Sorry. I think it's Virginia, right? Yeah. It's not North Carolina. I'm pretty sure it's Virginia. Anyways, I'm sure he'll correct me if I'm wrong. We are opening out of balance. That's important, right? That kind of significant in some of the day trade setups. So we are opening up out of balance, and the 10-day average true range ATR is 50-50. Things to note. Here's the important nuance this morning. While the overnight tape looks heavy, the higher time frame structure remains bullish. Tensions between bearish overnight positioning and bullish structure is exactly where the slingshot reversals are born. That's what, the headline in this morning's analysis is slingshot reversal has the potential to make our entire week. Those can be very profitable trades. If sellers press early and fail to gain acceptance below the range support, the unwind can be violent as shorts scrambled cover. That's the scenario I'm watching closely. as the same time frame, I am not married to the bullish outcome similar to yesterday, right? I had talked about, you know, and this is very important. And again, as we see each other, you know, almost every day of the week, the one thing, if you're trading, that you recognize is I don't marry these things. My mind is very nimble. And because I have very defined day trade setups, I am either right or wrong. And then I understand where I'm wrong and I just get out of the trade. And it is very easily for me to have a couple different, you know, bullish and bearish sediments in my mind, and I leave it very flexible. Now whether I truly believe that's not something that you're born with. That's like a skill like any other skill. And as you trade these markets throughout time, you should be able to, right, how do I want to say this? Learn that craft very well, and be able to have these things. So similar to yesterday, and we'll look at the charts, but right as I talked about that poor structure, and I showed you guys the poor structure in that candle at 8:30, and I said, right, that as that level gets broken, right, I said, watch that, you know, Fight Club area and of that 7,016, and then we broke down from there. It then recaptured that poor structure, and then again, like breaking through that 69.98 area, if I'm recalling yesterday fairly well, right? Then that was it. And it was that kind of in real time watching that, right? And then what happened? Then it really busted through, and then we went all the way down to like 69.85. And that's the thing. So then it's like, oh, you know, not bullish, and you have to, you know, trade accordingly. So, you know, this, as I'm bullish and I'm looking for the slingshot reversal, I just want to, right, I'm not married to that bullish outcome. If sellers prove they can hold the pressure, and again, we're coming in knowingly that there's net short delta at negative 4.22, which probably is, you know, when I let you guys go, usually I redo the delta skew, and just to see like, all right, from 7:15 when I wrote this to, you know, when I let you guys go about 9:15, 9:20, you know, what has changed. I usually re-up that, but anyways, as of that 7:15, that skew was -4. So again, right, I'm going to be flexible enough to respect that signal. This is not a day to anticipate, it's a day to react. So again, my starting approach is day trade type 3, and I'll be stalking that slingshot reversal of day trade setup 7. And then again, if instead price breaks from balance, rejects value, and traps late participants, day trade setup 9 becomes the higher probability path. So these are the things. The key levels to watch, right, are just below 7,000. I'm watching that. Again, that kind of falls in line with that 69.98. And then the price that remains above the lower boundary range, which we're right at right now, is that 69.70, where dips should remain buyable. So with all that said on this morning analysis, let's go on to the charts and just look at specifically context. So volume. On the volume profile chart, right, we always usually start with this. Again, starting from an hourly perspective, you know, this is still, we had a move up, and then again, we had a high, a low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. And so again, there is this, you'll see on the 5-minute chart, I kind of drew it up, mocked it up, where there is this defined ascending channel. And again, we are rotating back and forth in this channel, and we're right here at the lows of the channel. So again, as we open up, right, what happens in here? And is this just shoot down and right, like the market loses face and, you know, we should play the shorts, or right, if excuse me, excuse me, sorry about that. If price action holds and we get that slingshot reversal, right, where are we targeting? You know, again, this, and until one way price breaks clearly above the top side of the channel or clearly below the bottom side of the channel, you have to kind of just trade these things. Now, again, this is an hourly chart, right? So looking at day charts, hourly chart, this isn't a 5-minute chart. So again, you know, sometimes on these charts, especially lately, you know, I was talking to the wife yesterday and I said, man, this market is telling me something. The feedback that I'm getting, because from this move here, you know, we go back in time, you know, I really thought this was the hold, the pullback. And when we were trading in here, you know, we can go back, you can go back on the recordings. And what was I looking for? I was really looking for that explosive, you know, day trade type 7, and you get an ignition bar. And most of you guys, ignition bar. So an ignition bar. And then again, we pulled back and we got up here, and I was again looking for this ignition bar to like lift off. And again, yesterday we had CPI. Again, it's just like rinse and repeat, waiting for that ignition bar. And after yesterday, I was talking to the wife and I'm like, this market is, you know, if something doesn't happen. So if then. And so, you know, this is me journaling and I'm assessing my own journaling as I'm writing this down in the afternoons. And what I find to be the rinse and repeat is this has not taken off. And so, you know, I had to, you know, look at like, okay, this market, it's bullish. And I wouldn't say it's struggling, because these rips higher when you get into these lows seem like they're strong buying. It's not like weak. It's like a good push up. And you know, the traveling down is like this stair step down, and then it's like a rip up. Right? Which usually it's the other way around. Usually it's this drag up and then right the escalator down. And then a drag up and then an escalator down. And it feels like it's reversed. But the one thing I was talking to the wife about yesterday, because she was asking me, hey, how's trading, yada yada. You know, she was asking me about my day. I asked her about her day. And you know, these rotations are just the pullbacks, the retracements. That's the correct terminology. The retracements are big time, right? So, you know, when you put on, and let's just do that real quick. Let's go. We're going to take off this chart. Before I go to the trigger chart, let me do one more chart here. And then because I want to continue this conversation, but I have to show this chart because I talk about this in the morning market analysis, and that is the ranges, right? We have this range down here and we have this range up here, and we're sitting right here. And so again, right, as these are weekly profiles, so this was last week's profile, this is this week's developing profile. And so as price opens up, that's the gauge in which, like, which one is the magnet? I tend to believe, because we're in the bullish, like this becomes the magnet. And then again, like these shorts from, you know, these last few days, or however you want to say it, maybe it's not going to be a hard slingshot reversal with the overnight skew at negative 4.22. I feel like the slingshot reversal really has some powerful legs and could take us. Oops, wrong chart. Sorry, guys. This chart. You guys are like, where's Jason at? This chart. Oh, that's too funny. too many monitors, right? Sometimes having 8 monitors. So this is last week's profile. This is this week's profile. Let's start all over again here. This is the range. This is a range. And we're trading here. So, right, going back to my commentary. Because we're bullish in the hourly, day chart, weekly chart, neutral to bearish on the 5-minute chart. But, you know, I'm tending to believe this is more powerful in the magnet of price than, you know, this one. But again, price will tell me right or wrong, and we'll trade accordingly. But, you know, that 69.70 area really just hasn't faltered yet. So, and this is where, because of that net skew is so strong at negative 4.22, that could be that catalyst for that slingshot reversal higher, where that overnight inventory is largely wrong, and boom, you have to unwind that trade, right? You have to unwind old business. So watching that carefully. Now let's go back to the trigger chart. We'll get these charts correct. So now as we go into here, this is the channel. And again, this is that 69.70, right? And you can see where it was resistance. This is a little bit of a trap, right? We got above it, got below it, above it. You can see we're like right on Monday, right? That was the takeoff level up, right? And then now we're trading in and around that area again. And so, you know, I'm deeming this area as a reactionary level. It's a LVN on the volume profile. And so again, this is the make or break, right? Either we're going to open up and, right, this is going to break up, or we're going to open up. The low of day yesterday is 69.7675. So technically we're opening in a gap. We'll see if that, you know, corrects itself by the time we open at 9:30. But, you know, I don't want to say gap rules. Let's just say gap rules are possible, but it's still early and we're so close. I could see them, like, you know, opening up, getting back up above 76.75 before the open. And, right, we kind of correct that gap, and we do not open in a gap. But if we do open in a gap, you know, we've in previous episodes we've went over gap rules, so I'm not gonna, you know, spend too much time on that today. But this level is important. And then again, day trade type 3, you know, do we get back into balance? This gets a slingshot reversal. We get up in here, we Fight Club back in around 7,000, and then again we break out, pull back, and then again it's that larger as the day progresses, and we get into day trade type 7, or, right, this opens up and they just dump it, and this inventory is correct, and then, right, there's some selling pressure that adds, you know, we'd be targeting 69.35, and, you know, but really, you know, I would even target lower than that. My first target, though, would be this low, because again, if I was to drop this to an hourly, and I'm not going to get too greedy with it, but that's why I say, like, you know, there is an obvious level here at 69.32 3/4. You know, draw that across, and again, you know, we held. I would imagine if this breaks, I would imagine that there is a reaction around here, take some profits off, and then assess tempo, what time of day, you know, and how this plays out. Again, this hasn't broken yet. So in any meaningful fashion, I am not yet convinced that this bullish trend, right, highs, lows, highs, higher low, higher high, and again, all these in in the middle, I just haven't been convinced yet of selling, you know. Now, again, we can speculate and you can, you know, get ahead and pick tops and pick bottoms and on a longer time frame. I don't mind picking tops and bottoms in a 5-minute chart. That is much more easier. When it comes to day charts and hourly charts, I find picking those highs and lows a little bit more harder. So in the context of day trading, 5-minute charts, my style of trading, it's very it's easier, right? I don't want to say it's easy. Spectrum, remember spectrum, easy and hard. You know, when it comes to day trading on a 5-minute chart, picking that day's high and low, I find that to be easier. And then on hourly, daily charts, right, a little bit on the harder side to really pick that top, you know. And then, you know, because again, you're counter trend trading. And I'm more of a trend trader, not counter trend trader, right? And these are things that I think, you know, you as an individual or as a trader, right, I would encourage, that's the thing that you know, are you a counter trend trader and those are the trade setups and you're looking for, you know, you're really precise about that counter trend trade failure, or, you know, are you a legitimate trend momentum trader, and that's the things that you right, that's your skill set. So in my skill set, right, is a little bit of a trend trade, and the trend doesn't change on one day. You know, those are usually just perceived to me as buying or selling pullbacks depending on the trend. If we're trending lower and you get a rip, you know, in an 5-minute 5-minute chart or an hourly chart, you know, those tend to be juicy pullbacks more or less than, you know, you get into counter trend trading. So in this case, we're talking about going long, and this, in my, you know, when we're talking about this kind of time frame, you know, considering the hour, this just looks like a juicy pullback in the larger time frames. You know, now on a 5-minute chart, right, this definitely is, right, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, right? And we made a low and then we're at a higher low. So again, we're at that, you know, does this open up and this make a lower low, or was that the two, you know, kind of two try failure, right? Is that the two try failure where this is the piercing tail low, and then they try again, sellers try, it's a two try failure, and then again we're up and gone. That's what we are watching very closely as we open up. So hopefully I didn't beat that to death too hard. Hopefully it was very easy to understand how I'm trading. Really quick, since we got a little bit of time, I'll go over a couple charts or a couple things I'm watching. I am watching JP Morgan, right? That was one hell of a selling candle. This is again a day chart on JPM. It looked good from the open and the overnight price action where, right, it took out the previous day's high, and really, you know, I thought earnings was decent. This is why, again, I don't do that too much. I don't hold too much of the fundamental analysis, and it's more quantitative than qualitative. But, you know, this is definitely a bearish candle. We'll have to see what kind of follow through we get. I'm going to be watching Bank of America really closely today as well. The other thing that I'm going to be watching fairly closely, thanks Thinkorswim for bringing that where I can't get into is I am watching NVIDIA. And again, we need, you know, for this market to really, right, take off to the upside. Maybe I'll change my color here. Take off to the upside. We really need tech to follow, and even more, I would say, right, we need, right, when we look at the ES, right? You have NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft 20% of the index, right? So just these two, you got 7.5, 6.5, right? You're at 14, and then Microsoft, and again, it's almost 20. So there's 20% of the market right there. And so when I look at these charts, going back to the charts, and we're looking at NVIDIA, I'm watching that. I'm watching Apple, right? And then I'm watching Microsoft. Now, the one thing I will say on Apple, because I'm going to bring this up really quick. And I'm going to, let me take this to an hourly chart. Because I think this is important to watch, is I have a I don't want to say it is a 2-try. There is a reversal setup in my arsenal, right? It's, it's day trade type 15. Right? So when I'm thinking about day trade type 15, there's two ways I'm going to look at this, right? You're going to get somebody that says that this is a move and then we're flagging back for then a continuation lower, right? That would be one way to look at it. Another way to look at this, as far as my perspective, right, the glass half full, half empty, is I'm also looking at this that has the potential where this right here, this move that I'm drawing is part of day trade type 15, which is this kind of 2-try reversal, and where sellers can't take it any lower. And then what happens is this starts ripping back up, and then you retrace the whole move. You're targeting this, and this is what's considered a failure, right? This is a failure setup, right? Because you are right, or people are right to argue that this is a flag setup. So whenever you're flagging, right, the resumption is to resume the trend and go lower. Now, where is the failure? Because this is not a 100% success rate, right? So when this fails, and this goes again back to day trade type 15, is when this fails, this failure sets up again that kind of slingshot reversal where you get day trade type 7 coming in here, ignition bar, and then the setup, and then you're ripping and roaring, and then you're targeting, you're really targeting this 278. That's kind of how the setup, plays out, is, this is actually take some profits off at 274, and then you're targeting 278, and then you're leaving a runner to see, like, hey, where does this go on price discovery? But you do have some targets above. There is a defined, right? There is defined levels or defined points of taking profits. And then there's always the let the run. And then, right, you're looking for the next setup. But this, if we open up today and we do get that slingshot reversal, we are going to need NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft to play along. And so these are going to be very important for you to take a look at, like, as the day is happening live in real time. What is Apple doing? What is NVIDIA doing? What is Microsoft doing? I would even go into, like, what is JP Morgan doing, right, from yesterday's sell-off move? Was yesterday just a liquidation break in JP Morgan? And anybody, I don't know if you know what these terms are, but you can go to our website on priescapital.com. There should be a glossary page, and where I have market definitions, trading definitions, stock market definitions, and a liquidation break should be in there. And again, was that yesterday just a liquidation break, and then boom, buyers come in and, right, they take back that whole entire candle, not in one day, but say in like 3 days, 3 days to 5 days, consecutive days, and we kind of take that back. And again, these are things that I'm going to be watching in real time as the day, and that's going to be more confidence again, right? So let's recap really quick, and then we'll end today, unless anybody's got anything that we want to look at. But recapping today is we are at a very important inflection point, right? Either we're going to start coming into the market looking for selling, taking shorts, or, today is just another example of a great buying opportunity, slingshot reversal, watching NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, JP Morgan, and also Beige Book at 2:00. Watch that. Was there something I'm missing? Tin and uranium are breaking out. Also, I thought, Henry, commodities, isn't silver going ballistic this morning? I thought silver was ripping this morning. Yeah. I mean, yeah, silver's ripping too. Right? So again, closed yesterday 86.87, and we're 91 and a half. And right, I was looking at that too. So silver ripping again. Gold is consolidating at that 46.50 in a good consolidation. That looks like that wants to really take off too. Let's go GC. Yeah, silver above 90. Yep. And then yeah, James 91. Again, this looks like a little bit, we zoom in, right? We're kind of, right, we had a high, and then this just looks like it's bubbling, ready to just take off. Right? So metals definitely moving as well. So yeah, commodities are breaking out. Look at gold or oil, right? Oil back at 62, man. This has been, finally this trade is coming up, is working, right? So again, oil finally taking off. God, this thing, getting into this trade way back in here, and then, right, coming back in. Finally, we're getting some takeoff. So, yep, silver, copper, bad news for consumers. That's why I talked about that, Henry. I don't know if you seen yesterday's or watched yesterday's, but we went through the whole commodity, because CPI came out, we went through the whole commodity basket. So yeah. The other thing I also want to talk about is I am looking at, where's milk? Right now, this milk has been sitting down here. Now I do have a trade that I'm looking at this and getting into milk today. So everything from real estates to creams affected. I am looking at getting long milk futures, but not on the, right. So I am looking at, and maybe that's why it's not showing up, is I am looking at G25 or 26. Still, nope, it's not showing up. So, yeah, I'm looking at the G26 contracts, making sure I am looking at that correctly. No, that's why I'm already in. So there you go. I was wondering why it wasn't showing on the chart, my trade. That's because it already clocked me in. So I am long the G26 milk futures, and you can see right there at 14.95. So we'll see how that plays out. And right, that's just a little trade that I put on. And again, I'm either going to be right out, trading this on a day chart. So I am looking at this holding yesterday's, right? So I'm looking at this 1488 as secure, in an inflection low. So, right, how do I always talk about if I am under the assumption when I'm taking in a trade that this is the low of day or the low, right? Then at 1487, I'm out. So if this thing tacks 1487, like that's where my stop's going to be this morning, open up in today's trade. So I mean, I'm saying this is either the low, or if it's not, like I'm just out of the trade. I just really like the way that milk futures are setting up for a possible, take along. And if it gets stopped out today, then no big deal. And I'll look at it. I'll keep on watching this and watching how these set up, watching how this sets up into the future. But again, I know I've talked to you guys about milk before trading this futures. And I just liked this price action right in, basically since January. This kind of price action I like, and it just setting up for a possible day trade type 15. And so, right, nothing is confirmed. Really, I need a confirmation to get back above, right, like that 1510. And then, right, we got to take and be constructive and get above 1531. So at, one, I'm long, you guys can see it all. And then two, that has to hold, and then we need to come back up. First thing we need to do is take out yesterday's high, and then we need to get up into the moving average, and then we'll have to reassess and, right, like, is this still bearish? Because this is a, bearish chart. I am, picking a counter trend reversal and looking for this to kind of take back up. So I'm going to either be really right or really wrong. Is 1550 the point of control? What were you looking at? This chart? Yeah, so this is, so I'm on the actual February contract. So this, right, I'm actually on the contract, not the continuous contract. So if we go to the continuous contract, Henry, right, that's going to tell a different story, right? So, and again, this is a day chart, right? Now, if I wanted to get a little bit accurate, let's talk about that. Let's go back to G26. And what if I wanted to get a little bit more accurate on a little bit cleaner distribution, then I'm going to kind of go back only 30 days on the hourly chart, right? So 1 month of trading, and then see where the developing point of control is. And we're kind of at that 1544 on the hourly. And again, right, that 1507 is value area low, and I should put DV, right? It's developing. So DV, VAL, so developing value area low, right? And then, so, right, you kind of have to like get above yesterday's high a day, which coincides with the developing value area low, and then really kind of, right, get back up that 20 period moving average on the daily chart was at like 1531-ish, and then, right, get back up into 1544. Yes. And again, this is milk futures. So boom, you guys see plain as day that trade on that one. So that's the idea. That's the mantra. Again, this is, I need to see day trade type 15 play out. And again, 1487 is the stop. So it's 9:16. Hope everybody has a great day trading today. And again, as always, learn, trade, profit. I'll see you guys on the stream. Most of you guys have my phone number, so if you guys want, you guys can call me. Talk to you guys later. Bye.